everybody, welcome back to Gideon Stuff. Today we have a pretty fun video. As a lot of you know, I am a huge fan of Camillus knives. Camillus was kind of a leader in the cutlery industry for many years. I think their company started in 1876, and they were kind of the pinnacle of quality. And then, you know, kind of like a lot of brands, they had some hard times. They moved a lot of their production out of the U.S. and, you know, to other countries. But I still love them, and I think they do a lot of really, really cool stuff. Their knives, most of their knives are in like a $15 range, which is incredible in my opinion. Absolutely incredible. And I love looking at all the quality they bring to what could very easily just be more trash can level pocket knives. So today we're going to be going through all of my Camillus knives, and I've decided that I'm going to actually be ranking them from least favorite to favorite. This is going to be a little bit tricky, but you know what? I like making things hard on myself, so that's what we're going to do. Alrighty. First up, my least favorite Camillus knife that I have. This is the Choff, or Chof, I'm not sure how you pronounce the name of this thing. Focus up here, camera. This thing's kind of, I don't know, I just don't really like it that much. I've had this one for a while. Steel frame lock, 420 blade, running on plastic washers. The thumb stud action is absolutely fine. Ergonomics are not that great. It's a small knife, kind of a plain looking knife in my opinion. The flipper does not work at all. As you can see, flipper, no flip. But yeah, not a real great knife. Also, something about this knife always reminds me of just being depressed. When I reviewed this knife, it was during the pandemic. And at that time, I was living in this little apartment. And I was still doing school, or kind of trying to. And I was kind of doing things part-time. But I remember everything was online, and I would go weeks without talking to another human being in person. I talked to my family, my girlfriend on the phone, but gosh, I mean, it was awful. I was just miserable and depressed, couldn't find a job because it was the pandemic. And I reviewed this knife during that time. That time was when I had the blue table background. You guys might remember some of those old videos, but I also reviewed a couple of other Camillus knives, but they don't really remind me of the same type of miserable attitude that this one does. I don't know why, but yeah. So yeah, that's my least favorite, and yeah, not a real great knife, to be honest. Next up, you know what? That's really the only bad one. Now we're getting to some of the like kind of good stuff. You know what? Here, we'll go with this one. This one's a fixed blade. I'm sure a lot of you have seen this knife at Walmart. Yeah, not a bad knife. I have not reviewed this one. Pretty comfortable rubber handle. Very thin blade stock, actually. Hollow grind here. Pretty interesting fixed blade. Again, you know, this is like a $10 fixed blade. It's a fine knife. It's completely fine. It's just, you know, not really my kind of thing. I've got lots of other fixed blades that I really prefer more than this guy. I did get this one for a specific reason, which I haven't had a chance to make that video yet, but hopefully I'll get to it one day. But there's that one. Alrighty, next up. Yeah, probably this one. This is the Voracious. I reviewed this knife for Cheap Knife Week a little while back, and this one's actually really cool. And you know what? I think I'm going to switch the place of this one and the one that's coming after it. Okay, so just remember, the one I show after this one, I actually like this one a little bit more. Maybe, I don't know. It's hard. This is a kind of interesting knife. AOS 10A. This is one of the more expensive folders from Camillus that I have. What I find interesting is it's got a hollow grind up here on this tanto portion. So look how thin that gets. That's crazy. This was actually a pretty useful knife. Very comfortable in hand. The action is absolutely fantastic. That detent is dialed perfectly. And yeah, comfortable in hand. One of the things I don't really like about it, though, is the blade to handle ratio. I mean, and this one is, yeah, it's coming off, so I need to adjust it right now. But you have so much handle for not a whole lot of blade, and kind of makes the knife feel a little bit weird to me. Again, perfectly fine knife, and yeah, it's okay. AUS 10 or AUS 8 steel and plastic handles. Of course, it's got the Camillus, you know, dagger clip, which I think is really, really cool. All right, next one. And again, I don't know if I like this one less or more than that other one, but anyways, we're going to show it. This is the Camillus Bixby. And this one is really weird. The steel on this one, I don't think this one is 420. I think this one is 3CR, which, yeah, wah, wah, wah. No one really likes that. But the thing that's interesting about this knife, very comfortable in hand, but the action is just ridiculous. Thumb stud, flipper, reverse flick off the thumb stud. You can reverse flick off that hole. You can pinky flick. Whoops, I dropped something. You can pinky flick off that hole. It's just a very, very fun knife to fidget and play with. The milling on these plastic scales is also kind of interesting. Kind of an ugly knife, right? It's a pretty ugly looking thing, but it's fun. It's very fun. And again, this is like a $12 knife. So, you know, what are you going to complain about, right? Look at that action. And it also makes pretty good noises. Oh, get my hand out of the way. Yeah. And pretty comfortable in hand. They've got like this little area back here for your pinky to rest on. And yeah, you just, you know, it's a very cheap knife, but you can tell that they put some time into, you know, thinking about how this was going to function and work. And they did their best to make a good design. Also, Camillus Titanium. Camillus does this titanium bonded treatment on their steel. I'm not sure exactly what it is. I need to do some more research on it. Does it make a huge difference? They say it makes the steel up to 3 times harder. I don't know. I'm going to have to test it. I have had a couple of Camillus knives that have performed exceptionally well despite lower tier steels. We'll talk about that more later, but yeah, you know, it's interesting. Alrighty, next up. Yeah, probably this one, maybe. You know what? Here's what's going to be next. And this one is only this high on the list because I have good memories of it. This is the Camillus Blaze, I believe. But this was one of the first Camillus knives I ever got. I had this when I was a teenager. And I carried this all over the place. As well as its little brother. This one I actually ruined the pocket clip on, so I had to take that off. But I'd carry these together as a set when I was a teenager. Loved these knives. I think I bought these at a Tractor Supply. But yeah, very, very cool looks. Plastic, very cheap feeling scales. Tip down, carry clip only. Surprisingly smooth on their Teflon washers. But yeah, this knife is only really this high because of nostalgia. I really, really like this knife. And we're going to put both of them in the same spot. I probably like the bigger one a little bit more than the little one. But yeah, they're just pretty cool knives. I'd love to see Camillus maybe make some updated versions of this because yeah, it is a pretty cool design. Ergonomically, it's very, very nice. It's just, you know, those handles are kind of smushy, and I don't know, this feels a little cheap. But again, love these knives because of good memories. Yeah, both these are not centered. But yeah, very, very cool knife. Very nostalgic knife. Next up, this is one that is very new to me. This is the Camillus Tread Z, or the Treads, spelled with a Z. Very interesting knife, 420 steel, plastic scales, sheep's foot blade, multi-deployment, liner lock. Very smooth, perfectly centered. Listen to this sound. Oh my goodness. The tings this knife makes are so satisfying. Absolutely love that. The action is fantastic. They've got that detent dialed perfectly. The reason this one's a little bit lower on the list is just because this knife's not really my style. I think it's a kind of boring looking knife, but in hand it's very comfortable. I can tell this is going to be a pretty good EDC knife. Hollow grind here on this sheep's foot blade. The scales are actually contoured, which is pretty nice, and the texturing on them, which is why I think it's called the treads. The texturing is pretty grippy. Does add a little bit of good feel in the hand. But yeah, really, really cool knife, and I'm a pretty big fan of it. It's very, very fun. Alrighty, next up, we're getting into the hard stuff now. Which one do I want to go next? You know what? We'll talk about this one here. Oh, and geez, I've got two more here on the floor that I forgot to talk about. Whoops, they probably would have been a little bit lower. But here, we're going to talk about this one. This is not really mine. This is the Swedge. This is a knife that I gave to my family to use it with the wood stove, and they do use it a lot, as you can see. I'm going to be sharpening it for them. I promised that I'd be reviewing this pretty quickly. That's probably not going to happen. Yeah, I've got stuff to do. I've got, to get back to my life and everything. So I might review this in the winter time, come visit the folks, but there it is. A very interesting knife, very weird knife, and so I do like it. And real quick, let's talk about these ones that I forgot I had here on the ground. First of all is the Camillus Camtrax. I can't remember what this is called. I think that's what it's called. This is an interesting tool. This might actually be a little bit lower on the list. This raking video kind of fell apart, didn't it? But I do still like it. As you can see, it's gotten a heck of a lot of use. But it's a hatchet, hammer, and a saw. So, multi-tools like this are not typically my favorite thing, and they're not typically all that good. This one's okay. I would not say it's amazing. It's okay. I do want to do some more testing and eventually review this for you guys, but right now it lives in my truck. It's kind of an emergency tool, which I think is a good spot for it. The sheath is really, really nice. Does have a clip back here that's also got a bottle opener. But yeah, very, very cool. I would probably put this one, I put this one above the blaze, the big and small blaze that I showed, but just below the Tread Z. And then the next knife, actually I'm going to put this one. This one goes exactly where it's showing up on the list. My Carnivore X. So the Camillus Carnivore was a knife that my cousin and I really, really just thirsted over when we were teenagers. And he ended up he's got a couple of these now. And then I never did. And then I just kind of forgot about it, went on to college and stuff. And then I saw one at the store one day and I was like, hey, I'm going to get one of those. My mom never wanted me to have one. I remember one time going to the store, and even though it was my money, that I worked for that summer, I was going to buy this. She's like, no, you don't need that. And so I had to put it back. But, I was like, oh, I'm a big boy now. I don't need my mom to tell me what to do. So I bought this, and as you can see, it has had the absolute crap beat out of it. That's because this knife also lives in my truck. And a while back, I got stuck in the mud up in the woods real bad. And actually, my cousin and his wife were there with me at the time. Were they married yet? Yeah, I think they were married. I think they'd just been married. But we used this but what happened was, we were going down an old logging road. And so it had rained recently. But the funny thing was me and Austin had been up that road earlier that day to do stuff with no problems. Then we came back, picked up his wife, and we were going out to have a little cookout, go down the same road, and we get stuck. I fall, we had like all these pine needles in this one spot in the road, kind of over this muddy area. Truck sinks in there, and there's this root that gets right under my tire, and it's really making it hard to get any traction or move any way to get out of there. So we used this to saw that root out, and yeah, it worked. It worked really, really well. I've used this for other things too, clearing some brush and stuff in the field. But yeah, it stays in my truck because it's a useful tool. Have an interesting sheath. Oh, I guess technically it comes with this little knife here. If I was going to be giving this knife a ranking, it would be like at the very bottom. This is probably the worst Camillus knife. Is the Carnivore a great tool? No, it's not. But I have fond memories of it, and I don't know. That memories mean a lot to me. So yeah, that's why that one gets such a high rating. All right, now we're really coming down to the hard stuff. And I think next up, next up is the Severus or the Civic. I see Camillus labeling this some places as a Civic now, even though go back and look at my review of this, look at my unboxing, the package said Severus, but you look it up everywhere now and they say it's the Camillus Civic. I don't know. Whatever. I see this comes in different colors now. I've kind of been interested in picking a couple of those up. It's a very cool knife, very comfortable in hand, very good blade, nice choke up point. The action is absolutely stupid. I really like a lot about this knife. However, again, it's got a really weird blade to handle ratio. Look at that beautiful edge on there. It's got a really weird blade to handle ratio, and the plastic scales do feel just extra cheap in this case. They are contoured though, which is really, really nice. And it's got a great clip. Camillus does a really good job on their pocket clips. I mean, that's a perfect clip. It's not even a hot spot in the hand. Yeah, I like that a lot. So yeah, Camillus, Civic, Severus, whatever the heck it is. Really, really cool knife. Also reviewed that one for Cheap Knife Week a while back. Okay, next up. Whew. Yeah, we're getting to the hard. You know what? Yeah. This is the Camillus multi-tool knife. I don't think that's ever got a proper name. This is an interesting knife. I love the blade. I love the ergos, but it's also got some kind of interesting features. If you push these little buttons here, you can pull out these little tools. Are these tools super useful? I mean, I think they can be. I think you can get some utility out of them. I reviewed this for Cheap Knife Week as well a while back. Whoa, that one really shoots. And I told a story about how a couple winters ago, I was visiting my family for Christmas and stuff, and there was this power outage. Horrible power outage, lasted for 5 or 6 days. So for 5 or 6 days, there's no power or anything. And so we were really, trying to stay warm and stuff. And I happened to have this knife, and we ended up making some modifications to some of the windows around the house, like packing in towels and stuff around them to insulate them. And I can't remember what it was, but I loaned this to my dad, and he used those little pry tools quite a bit for... He's doing something with the windows. I'm not sure exactly what. I can't remember what it was, but action on this is pretty nice. It is running on Teflon washers. The pocket clip is actually really, really cool. I've never seen a deep carry clip that's, kind of mounted off to the side like this one is. But, I mean, it really, really nice. Again, very cheap knife, but it's made well, and, yeah, it's definitely functional. So, I like that one a whole lot. Next up, this is a knife that's really, really interesting. This is the Camillus Chunk, and yeah, look at that reflective blade. Holy cow. Hi, guys. This knife is very interesting, and one of the reasons I like this knife so much is not only just because, of my version here, but because of my cousin Austin's version. So, very comfortable in hand, very big sheep's foot blade, great for cutting and stuff. Reversible clip, it is tipped down, but that's okay. The action is just phenomenal. Whoops. I say as I screw that up. But Austin has one of these, and his has a black blade. And we made a couple videos on this a long time ago. Gosh, early days of my channel. We did this video, the Cheap Knife Olympics. And he bought that knife. We took that knife and we were throwing it at trees. We were chopping it through stuff. We were batoning. We did all kinds of stupid stuff with it. And it held up like a champ. The lockup stayed solid. The blade had like one chip in it. It was, if even that, and it was like a minuscule chip. It was fantastic. It did so well. And after that video, Austin took that knife and he made it his work knife. He works in asphalt and stuff like that, making roads. And he uses that knife hard, really hard, and it does great. We did an update video on it. You know, it's held up stupidly good. And again, $14 knife that's made out of cheap materials, but it held up to some serious abuse. This thing is way tougher than you'd give it credit for. And yeah, just a crazy knife. So I love that one. The Camillus chunk is fantastic. All right, now we're really getting into the hard stuff. Okay, we're going to go with this one next. This is the Camillus Bushcrafter. I reviewed this a while back. 12C27 steel, micarta handles, reversible clip, making this knife completely ambidextrous. I had this knife for a long time before I reviewed it. I reviewed it back in December of 2022, I believe. Very comfortable in hand. The blade's, you know, pretty nice. It's a functional blade. I'm a big fan of this knife. Yeah, the sharpening control kind of sucks, but when I bought this knife, it was like $30. I think they've gotten a lot more expensive now, which is a shame. But this is a very cool knife, and I actually used it as a food prep knife in my apartment for a long time, and it did really, really well. It just kind of lived in my kitchen, and yeah, I still carry this knife every once in a while to this day. I really, really enjoy using it. There is a fixed blade version, which I kind of be interested in getting my hands on, but yeah, you know, it's a tail lock. It's not the most fidgety thing ever, but you know, you can flick it out. It's just a really cool knife and kind of different from a lot of the other Camillus knives that I have. So I love the Bushcrafter. It's a very, very cool knife. Most of these knives, if I haven't already mentioned, most of these knives do have reviews on my channel, so you can check those out if you are interested. Next up, the Camillus Defy. I love this knife, and I have given a lot of these away. I've bought a lot of these knives for friends and family. This thing is so cool. This is a fantastic knife. Love that spear point blade. Fantastic. A very fun color. Super ergonomic in hand. Great performer. I did review this knife as well. You can check that out. Crossbar lock. It's running on bearings. It's got a fantastic action. Very, very nice. Again, a $15 knife. My one complaint with it is the pocket clip, and especially being on this hard plastic insert, this kind of this grippy texture on it. It's not the greatest, but yeah, I love this knife. Absolutely love this knife. It's so fun. I even gave one of these away on the channel, but yeah, these are something else. Really, really like them. Can't be beat. Okay, now we're down to the last three. You know what? I know how this is going to go. This is surprising to me. You know what? Yeah, we're going to do this one. This is the Camillus Dominator 2. And this is their budget one. There's a more premium one with VG tin and carbon fiber, which I really want to get, but I haven't got around to it. I think they're sold out everywhere. This one has 3CR and plastic, which, yeah, I know, I don't love. But the action is amazing. And this is a Daryl Ralph design. And Daryl Ralph is one of my favorite designers. I think his stuff looks so, so cool. This knife also had to have a new shiny edge put on it. But yeah, I really like this knife just because this was a $17 knife. And for a Daryl Ralph design, that's pretty incredible. So I love that clip point blade. Very, very cool. Love all the swedges. It's a very aggressive looking knife. The flipper tab is just weird looking. Just a small knife, but I like it. And that action, oh, that action is just amazing. So yeah, Camillus Dominator 2. Next up, this is the Camillus LK6. And I love this knife. Now, I've seen that there are budget versions, like $17 versions of this knife that you can get nowadays with the 420 steel and plastic. This was more like a $25 knife. This is D2 steel, It's a steel frame lock and G10. And I gotta say, I love this knife. The ergos on this thing are fantastic. My biggest complaint is the pocket clip. The action is very, very nice. It's a very compact knife, a very almost heavy duty type of knife. Oh my goodness, did you hear that? Holy smokes. Love that. Again, the ergonomics are fantastic. This is a great 5th pocket carry backup knife. This was in the very first season of Cheap Knife Week. I just love this knife. It's a really good one. I think Camillus should make a premium version of it. I think a lot of people would buy it, like, you know, put S35 in and titanium on this. You know, milled clip. This is a very, very cool knife, and it feels very premium. I love it. Alrighty, my favorite Camillus knife, as of now, is actually one that's new to me. I've only had this for a few days. This is the Camillus Rain, and it is crazy. Absolutely crazy. So, it's a cool looking knife, blacked out, kind of tactical. Liner lock, perfect pocket clip, as we've come to expect. Very smooth action, but what's cool about this is this CUDA opening mechanism. It makes this knife feel assisted. The detail on this knife is otherwise pretty weak. You can deploy it with that blade hole, but you use this thing, and man, it pops out. The ergonomics are very comfortable. The blade is super useful. $420 and plastic. This was another $15 knife, but holy crap, is it amazing. I just absolutely love this thing. Can't wait to review this. I think you guys will really, really enjoy it. I'm in love with this thing. I absolutely love it. Yeah. So there we go. Those are my favorite. That's my entire Camillus knife collection, all ranked. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think. I love Camillus. Do you love Camillus? I hope so. But yeah. If you enjoyed this video, leave it a like, comment below, and subscribe. I've been Gideon, and I'll see you in the next one. Adios.